Nebraska spring practice has a bunch of big storylines this year, but nothing bigger than the Huskers' massive positional battles on both offense and defense. So in today's video, I'm going to go over the biggest battles to watch out for this spring for Nebraska. Who's going to start in that DB room? What about on offense? Some brand new players you need to have your eyes on, and so much more. So really quick, we have a lot to get into. Positional battles. Hey, hit that like button if you're fired up, because I know I am, and also if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're unsubscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for daily Husker football content just like this, practice updates you're going to get nowhere else, recruiting updates, and so much more. Join this family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get into it, going over Nebraska's biggest positional battles to watch out for this spring. Now, I had to narrow this list down to the 5 biggest battles because, frankly, there's battles in pretty much every single positional group this year. The Huskers lose a lot of key seniors, but some are bigger than others. So let's get things started with the number 1 room that I'm looking out for this spring. You already probably know what this is. The defensive back room for the Huskers. This is going to be a big conversation point to watch over the next couple weeks. As of right now, Nebraska has about 30 defensive backs in that room. So not only are these guys competing to start, competing to get in that rotation, they're competing to even have a roster spot going into the fall. Of course, we know that once the summer hits, the 105 cap limit begins. So Nebraska right now, they have about 130 players on the roster. Got to cut that down to 105. A lot of these DBs will be cut. Some scholarship guys. It is going to be unbelievable to see what happens. Now, there's only a couple guys that can pencil in as starters in this DB room. Cedar Wright will be our corner 1. No question about it. He was one of the best corners in the Big Ten last year, according to Pro Football Focus. And then I believe Deshaun Singleton will once again start at that strong safety spot. Other than that, every single spot is up for grabs. Who's going to start at that secondary corner spot alongside Cedar Wright? Is it going to be an Amari Sanders, a Larry Tarver, a transfer like Andrew Marshall? We have no idea. And that all will get answered in spring ball. We'll have an idea going into the summer who's going to start. And the rotation there is very important. And then who's going to start at Rover? Isaac Gifford has been our starter there for the last 2.5 years, of course, going on to professionals. Who is going to start at Rover? Is it going to be a guy like Ramir Stewart? Maybe a Marquez Buford is going to learn a new role. Who knows? And then, of course, who's going to start at free safety alongside Deshaun Singleton? Maybe a young guy like a Caleb Benning, a Jameer Khan. I could see a Mario Buford get that opportunity. So the DB room is going to be very interesting to watch. We know that we have a brand new coach there in Addison Williams, so he has no loyalties to any of these guys. It's going to be an open competition. He said that. Matt Rhule has said that. Nobody is owed anything. That's the way it should be. I'm excited to see how it plays out because this is going to be an incredible room for the Huskers. There's a lot of talent there. Not a lot of production, but a lot of talent. So that is the first positional group that I'm looking out for. Let's get to the trenches. On the offensive side of the football, the offensive line, oh my goodness, this is going to be a ridiculous battle there. Now, there's a lot of moving parts. You can only pencil in a couple of guys. Rocco Spindler, I think, is going to start at right guard. You have Elijah Pritchard, who I think is going to be our right tackle starter. We'll see on that. But even that's not a lot because Elijah Pritchard struggled in the past at Alabama. So there's a lot of moving parts. Who's going to start at center? We have no idea. You lose Ben Scott. Is that going to be maybe a Rocco Spindler who kicks inside? Is that going to be a slam sledge? Maybe Justin Evans-Jenkins is going to go back to his old spot. Nobody knows who's going to be our center next year, which is honestly a little bit of a concern because of how important the center is for the offense. Who's going to be our other starting tackle alongside Elijah Pritchett? Is Elijah Pritchett even going to start? What about Teddy Prohaska and Turin Corcoran, both coming off injuries? Are those guys going to be ready to go? Are they going to start this year in their last years of eligibility? What's going on with some of these young guys, like a Grant Brooks, like a Present Tomoa, like a Gibson Pyle, who a lot of people have expectations for? So there are a lot of storylines with this offense. Again, you basically can only pencil in one starter, right? And that's probably going to be Rocco Spindler at that right guard spot. You have other guys who you feel like are going to start, like a Justin Evans, like a Gunnar Gatula, but you just don't know where. Where are they going to start? I don't know, but they're probably going to. So we're going to get a lot of answers, but the O-line is pretty much all up for grabs. But again, a lot of good talent here, a lot of young guys pushing for spots like Matt Rhule mentioned. I wouldn't be shocked if we talk about Grant Brooks potentially being a starter by the end of spring ball. Will be interesting to see there. But I have my eyes on Elijah Pritchett. Can he start at right tackle, or is he going to continue to struggle like he did at Alabama and go to that second string spot? So will be interesting to see what happens there on that offensive line room because, man, that's going to be a big storyline. You got to protect Dylan Ryle. That's number 1. I feel good about our talent. Just don't know who is going to be our final 5. All right, so that is the second positional battle that I'm looking out for. let's get to a third one that I don't think anybody's really talking about. This is the quarterback battle. Now, of course, there's no battle about who's going to be our starter. We know Dylan Raiola is going to be that guy. In my opinion, I think that Matt Rhule should facilitate competition and say, hey, maybe Dylan's spot isn't safe. I think that would be the best for his development. But he's not going to do that. He's not going to rattle Dylan's confidence like that. So Dylan's locked into being quarterback one. The thing that I'm looking out for is who's going to be that backup quarterback. Because in my opinion, you have three options. You have a Jalen Gramstad, who's a veteran, coach, leader type of guy. He only played in one game last year. I believe it was the UTEP game, and he didn't play that bad. So you have Jalen Gramstad. You have Marcos Davila. You guys already know how I feel about Marcos Davila. I think he's a baller. I think he's going to be our second string quarterback. Good arm, good decision making, puts his head down and works. You don't see him out partying, you don't see him out attending basketball games, doing this, that, and 30. He's putting in the work right now. I like Marcos Davila, I really do. So that's the second guy. And then you have TJ Lateef, who's a complete wild card as well, where I know he's a true freshman, but I've been high on TJ Lateef ever since he committed to Nebraska. That guy's a straight winner. He's a guy who's going to come here, compete, put his head down as well. People close to TJ Lateef think he's going to really be in the mix as a true freshman. So, listen, man, we will see what happens there. We know that Matt Rhule doesn't shy away from not redshirting guys. Like, if TJ's good enough to be our second string, they will not redshirt him. Trust me on that one. Okay. So we will see what happens there, but I'm really excited to see what happens. Again, with this backup quarterback spot, I know that we're going to have a good one. I think it's going to be Marcos Davila. I like his upside a lot. Let's get to the running back room. We know Emmett Johnson is going to be the guy, but there are a lot of moving pieces behind that man. Depending on how the running backs play over the next couple weeks, will answer whether or not we're going to take another transfer in the portal. Okay, you have Quinn Knives. It's time for him to step up. It's put up or shut up time. If Quinn Knives can't play well in spring ball, he might be asked to move on. Or he might just be, never play. Okay, what's happening with Makai Nelson? Is Makai Nelson finally going to get an opportunity? I don't know. Is he good enough to get an opportunity? Because I like Makai Nelson a lot as a player. Okay, he's a guy, who can catch passes. He can, he can make plays out of the backfield. He can block. We'll see. And then you have two true freshmen in there, like a Jamarion Parker, like a Connor Booth, who I'm very high on Jamarion Parker. I think he's a stud. I think he might push guys to, in spring ball to potentially start, potentially be that second string running back. So we have no idea how that rotation is going to look. But, just depending on how these guys perform, we might have another running back in this room in a couple months if they don't play up to snuff. So would watch out for that running back room. And the last thing I'm looking out for that literally nobody is talking about is the tight end room. There are 4 tight ends who are up for grabs to start next year. Okay, you have Carter Nelson, who's the odds-on favorite. You have Mac Markway, who everybody forgets about. Okay, who's a very talented high 4-star, transferred in from LSU. Okay, you have Heinrich Haarberg, of course, transitioning over to tight end, and then you have Luke Lindenmeyer. Okay, 2 of those guys will be out for spring ball. Carter Nelson rehabbing from his surgery. He will be out for spring ball, and then Mac Markway likely will be out from spring ball because of his ACL that he had early last year. So, what is going to happen in that tight end room? Because Heinrich Haarberg, Luke Lindenmeyer, they have an advantage of all the other guys. Now, talking about Haarberg specifically, I'm all about him putting on weight. He needs to put on weight. Like, if he wants to have a future at tight end, he needs to be 250. At the very minimum. He's 6'5". You got to be 250. Right now, he's 225. So I'm looking at him to aggressively put on weight. He needs to be at minimum 240 this year, to be an actual tight end to block. Because he looks small out there. Like, yeah, he's a little bit of a utility knife, but he looked really small. You got to put on weight if you're Heinrich Haarberg. And then, Luke Lindenmeyer continue to progress. He's just not a very shifty player. He's not a great catcher. He's not a great route runner, but he is a darn good blocker, one of the best in the Big Ten that you can take to the bank. So, again, we will see what happens, but I know that Mark McAway and Carter Nelson, they are out. So you got 2 tight ends out there. I'm telling you, if Heinrich Haarberg impresses these guys in spring ball, he's going to get a leg up over all of those other guys, and he will likely start when we get into the season. All right, guys, those are the 5 positional buyouts that I'm looking out for the most. I could talk about the wide receivers. I don't think there's going to be too much of a battle for the starters. Again, you feel good about Nizay. You feel good about, Jacory. Dane Key's going to be that guy. I think Demetrius Bell is going to be in the mix there, but not going to be too much of a battle there. D-line, you have an idea about who's going to start along with linebackers. I think these are the 5 biggest positional battles that are really going to impact Nebraska this season. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below about Nebraska positional battles going into the spring. What are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to win these battles? Let me know in the comment section. Hey, if you made this far in the video, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go be great, go Matt Rhule, and see you in the next one.